chaining and scaffolding, I feel like, is where the art and science behind teaching comes in, because yeah, we have this curriculum, we know what the students need to know and be able to do, but how do you creatively get it to them at the level that they're at? Hey teammates, welcome back to Teaching with Tania. I am Tania, of course, and I am a first year, third grade teacher, and I'm so excited that you clicked on this video. When I was trying to plan and figure out how I want my days to look, let alone my weeks to look, I was very overwhelmed. So hopefully this video is beneficial to you guys. I have been trying to film it for a long time now. I sat down and recorded it for you guys, and then I didn't like the way it looked, and then I screen recorded it, and that wasn't working. So I'm just gonna decide just to sit down and verbally tell you guys how I plan for the week. So let's get right into it. The first thing I like to do is make sure that what I taught last week and what I taught this week, it needs to flow, because I believe that learning builds off of each other. So the lesson that I'm teaching this week need to build off of what I taught last week, unless it is like an end of a module or end of a unit or whatever. If it's not any of those, then the lesson should continue and build off of what was taught the previous week. It's like every Sunday, go ahead and look and see what I taught previously, and to see how that is going to connect with what I'm talking about this week, and especially with my curriculum that my district uses for literacy and ELA curriculum. It basically should build off of each other, and we have been using the same module for quarter one, and now we're on quarter two, and with pacing, I am a little bit behind, like a week or so, so I just need to make sure that I stay where I need to be. And shout out to my lead, because I sat down with her and planned basically everything that I need to do to finish this module. So, you know, gotta keep it going, gotta keep the train moving here. After I look to see what I have taught the previous week, I then like to look at my calendar and make sure I don't have any half days, any professional development days, just to make sure this week is clear. Or if I do have a half day, make sure I'm aware of it. Or if you have an assembly, because there's nothing worse than you're about to teach a lesson and then some administration, some person is calling your students down because there is an assembly that you didn't know about. That is literally terrible. So make sure that whatever is on your calendar, that you are aware of it and you can plan around that, because, you know, you understand that things pop up and some things that you're not aware of. And I just, as a teacher, like to be as prepared as possible. So just make sure you know when your holidays are, when you have early release, all those things, just be prepared for that. So the third thing I like to do, as you guys probably already saw, that I have 4 preps. My first one is my district ELA curriculum. I like to look at that first, and I do that first thing when students come in, because a lot of my students come in late and they just trickle in. And it, out of all the things I need to do, it is the least important thing. It's one of the preps that feed off of each other. So for example, we have a FUT coming up, and I am preparing students for that. So we read a book, and then now we're finding evidence and doing gallery walks and making it interactive, so that when it is time to write their QRT, when it is time to do the end of module tasks, my students are prepared for it and they have all the evidence that they need to be successful. So that's what I'm doing in this coming week for my students, perhaps that I'm prepping for. So my school district one, and then we do Haggerty. For those of you guys who don't know what Haggerty is, it just helps students with phonological awareness. And that's pretty much easy. It's all scripted out, and it shouldn't take more than like 10 minutes. And I've been trying to put a timer on the board to let my students know, like, hey, we need to get through this. And they see, like, if I have to keep interrupting because people aren't participating or whatever, it does slow the time down. So now that students see that, hey, this is like more like a competition, we've been able to get through that pretty fast. And we just go like, what week are we in? We are week 12 right now. So I do week 12, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. My third prep, or in addition to this curriculum piece, is my foundations. Foundations also is a great curriculum that builds off of each other. The only thing about foundations is it's not repetitive. So I look at my curriculum and see, oh wow, I'm on unit 4, week 2, day 5, or whatever you're on, and I am on day 4 this week, and I see that we haven't reviewed this topic that was 2 weeks ago, just keeping it fresh in students' memories, because as I'm learning, yes, they're in 3rd grade, but because of other circumstances, we may not be able to just recall that information. So constantly putting in my students' faces is great repetition for them and prepares them for the quiz, test, whatever is coming next. My fourth prep, which is not really a prep, but I still have to plan for it, is my small groups. I have been getting better at small groups, and I'm now implementing something that my lead teacher has taught me. She gave me a suggestion about how to make my small groups better. So I'm actually implementing that this next week so that it just runs a lot smoother and students are getting everything they need during that time, and just to be as efficient as a teacher during that time so that it could be beneficial to my students. And I am seeing progress. Like, I absolutely love small groups. If I could do small groups every day, I would. But that's another story for another day. But yes, I prep for small groups, make sure I have differentiated everything and has what each student needs. It does take me the longest to plan because I have to go back into our data points and see what students need what, but hey, it's worth it in the long run. After I've looked at all my curriculum, I then go back and see where I need to differentiate again or implement my IEPs, whether it's supplemental services or what the general education teacher is supposed to be doing, and making sure I write that specifically in my lesson plan so that when anybody looks at it, they see that what I'm explicitly doing for those students that need it, making sure I'm providing those services as need be for each student. I also don't just differentiate for students that have IEPs or whatever. I also differentiate for the whole class because I know that not everything is identified, and you know your students best. So if you know that they may not be able to do something that is curriculum and the textbook may want them to do, then you can go ahead and switch that up for them just to make it personalized. And you may know that this student may struggle with writing, or this student may struggle with small groups. So how about you have the student do it independently? And I feel like that's where the differentiating and scaffolding, I feel like, is where the art and science behind teaching comes in. Because yeah, we have this curriculum, we know what the students need to know and be able to do, but how do you creatively get it to them at the level that they're at? Because every student may not be the picture perfect student that the curriculum thinks that they have, or they have all of the knowledge needed to complete the skill. So this is my favorite part, differentiating and making the lesson fun and bringing it to life, because learning should be fun. Like, we're at school all day, they're at school all day. Yes, they need to be learning, but also needs to be a fun and enjoyable environment. Next step is step 5. And this is, to be honest, the part that I dread the most, because I have all these ideas in my head, how I want it to flow and how I want my students to get the information. But yeah, I may know what I'm doing, but other people that walk into my classroom or that may come in to help may not know what I'm doing. So typing it all up and making sure everything is documented is like my least favorite part, but I know it has to be done. So I go ahead and make sure my lesson plans match what I'm doing that day so that it is all prepared for the week. And last but not least, step 6 is creating the PowerPoints. This part is also fun because you get to add creativity and make it your own so that students know what we're doing. And also, I found as a teacher, I used to hate teaching from PowerPoints. I'm like, I have to follow this script, but it's more like your lesson plan is a script, and your PowerPoints, you can do them daily, weekly, however you want to do it. That is your guide as a teacher, so that I'm not constantly having to go back to my lesson plan, like, what are we doing next? What are we doing? Your slides should basically follow the same flow every day so that your students also know what you're doing, and that's just the way your classroom is ran. I have been able to even put my procedures and routines in place just to make sure my classroom runs as smoothly as possible. Now, of course, I give grace, and I understand students may be having a bad day, or you may take longer on one thing than another some days, but at the end of the day, this is how my class needs to run and what my students can expect from me during the times and when they are allowed to talk, when they're not allowed to talk. Like, that's also a good indicator to put in your slides so that students can see that. In step 6, I also give the rest of my lesson materials, whether it's an anchor chart I need to make or a book that I need to do. Either way, I just go ahead and get all my lesson plan materials like markers, copies. I do all this in step 6 so that when it's time to actually teach the lesson, I have everything that I need. The worst thing you want to do is get to a lesson and then you realize, hey, I don't have this and this. Terrible idea. If you have some tips on how you like to lesson plan for the week, please leave those in the comments down below. Don't forget to create a great day, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.